It's very tempting for me. I don't know why they did this on purpose, didn't they? Put this right here. I'll try not to touch it. So, I think we should talk about the virgin birth. I do. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. The virgin birth. I think we should talk about it. I don't know that we need to do it every Christmas, but I think that maybe, I don't know, at least every third Christmas or so, we should talk about it. The virgin birth. We should drag the issue out into the open. We should talk about the virgin birth. You know, it's like, people say that Jesus' mother, Mary, was a virgin, and she conceived him as such. I think we should talk about that. So that's just what we're going to do. Now, whether you believe in the virgin birth or not, you probably all agree that it's pretty unbelievable. A virgin birth? Now, I happen to believe in the virgin birth. And as I thought about it, wrestled with this text and the virgin birth this week, as I thought about it, I wondered to myself, Hendree, why in the heck do you believe in the virgin birth? Why do I, a reasonably well-educated, most of the time rational adult human being, living in the age of science and technology, a grown man who has had 7th, 8th, and 9th grade health classes in which reproductive science was explained to me in detail. I understand it all, I think, with no hard data to support my belief. Why do I believe in the virgin birth? Well, I'll tell you why. Because for my entire life, all of my 47 years, I have been surrounded by the actual occurrence of unbelievable things that really happened. In fact, as I was thinking about it, here's the deal. I know more unbelievable stories than believable stories. It's just the reality that I'm living in. So I thought to myself, let me tell you some unbelievable things that I know about. And I want to start at the very beginning. We have good science. Like today, we have good science that tells us that 13.8 billion years ago, as one scientist puts it, all the space and all the matter and all the energy in the known universe was contained in a volume 1/1,000,000th the size of the period at the end of this sentence. That's unbelievable. And then, 13.8 billion years ago, and then, for an as yet unknown reason, that tiny, tiny volume of everything suddenly expanded in what we call the Big Bang. And I like to think that God exhaled, let love loose in the universe, and the Big Bang happened. Whatever the case, before 2 minutes were up, 13.8 billion years ago, the universe was a sopping, soupy mess consisting of mostly hydrogen and a little bit of helium. 13.8 billion years later, through the grace of evolution, here we are. What? We have all of this. We have iPhones and golden retrievers and beagles and books and the internet and shopping malls and oatmeal and marshmallows. What? It's unbelievable. I mean, if you just told somebody, that's unbelievable, and it's true. And so when I think about the virgin birth, set against that landscape, can I say, Pam, I'm going to try to say this respectfully. When I think about the virgin birth set against that landscape, it's really not that big a deal. I'll give you another one. You've heard me tell this one 1,000 times. I'm trying to get you to the point where when I start it, you just say it to me. In September of 1943, a young Jewish woman named Hendree Harrison true story, was loaded onto a cattle car to be taken to Auschwitz concentration camp where she was killed at the tender age of 29. Eddie took her Bible with her as she was loaded onto that cattle car. That in and of itself is unbelievable. She sat on a rucksack in the middle of the crowded car and she opened her Bible at random, true story, to Proverbs 18 and 10, which says, and she read it out loud, "The Lord is my high tower. The righteous run into the tower and they are safe." Now, Eddie knew that she and her loved ones were going to die. She didn't have a naive bone in her body, and still she had faith that death was no end and that the Nazis could not, are y'all with me? Could not take her from the grip of her loving God. She wrote a final postcard to a friend. "We left the camp singing," she wrote. And then she slipped that postcard through the slats in the cattle car walls. The wind caught it. It landed in a field. A farmer found it, posted it. We have it today. True story. That is unbelievable, y'all. And it's 100% true. And that kind, can I say this respectfully? That kind of heroic faith in that woman from the Netherlands makes the virgin birth seem kind of rather well run-of-the-mill. I got another one. Who knows Doris Barnes? Amen. Was it her 94th birthday? Something like her 94th birthday. Somewhere around her 94th birthday, Doris Barnes, a woman of extraordinary faith, was diminished and laying in a hospital bed across town from here. All of us gathered around her bedside were weepy at the prospect of her dying. She lay there weak as could be, frail body. She looked up into my face. She smiled at me, Joyce. And with a strength that betrayed her body's frailty, she said this, Remember, Hendree, the only job any of us has in this life is to love other people." So you're telling me, very near the end of almost 100 years on this planet, after all Doris Barnes had seen and done, that was her conclusion. Y'all, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Eddie, I want to try to be respectful. Eddie and Doris, come on, y'all, these women and their faith. Eddie and Doris make Mary's virgin birth seem, with respect, kind of ordinary. I got another one. Can y'all do it? I know a woman who was given 6 months to live 20 years ago. She's alive today. Do you believe that? It's unbelievable. Contrasting story. My big sister, Laura. She died at 52 years old almost 1 year ago. And when she was very near the end, she was in enormous pain. The cancer was in her brain, and it hurt like hell, she told me. Through tears one day, near the end, she whispered softly to me. She said, "Hendree, God's got me. God's got me. Cancer doesn't have me. God's got me." My big sister, what a woman of faith. She still believed very near the end what she'd been taught very near the beginning. As a little girl, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. God's got me, she said, as she lay dying. Y'all, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable and it's true. Can you stand one more? My grandmother, Virginia Watson, she lost her son Scott to mental illness on Shrove Tuesday, shortly before his 24th birthday. His death was a sudden tragedy that wounded our family beyond words. And one day, buried in her grief, my grandmother was struck by the uplifting realization that she had a choice. She said, "I knew that day that I could choose to spend the rest of my life being sad that I only had my son Scott for 23 years. Or I could choose to be glad that I had my son Scott for almost 24 years. Rooted in her faith, she chose gratitude and lived 95 years, like Doris Barnes' distance, grounded in gladness. Y'all, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. And it's true. And so I was thinking, about all these unbelievable things, these unbelievable stories that I've played witness to, and I remembered something that St. Augustine said hundreds of years ago. St. Augustine said, this virgin birth that happened to Mary, what does it matter if it does not happen in me too? And then I realized why I believe in the virgin birth. I believe in the virgin birth because I have seen the Christ unbelievably born in the lives of so many, very many people. And then I realized, my goodness, I know what Christmas is. Christmas is God continually, unbelievably, and continually coming into our world through ordinary people like you and me in unbelievable ways, day after day after day after day. And hear me say this: you do not have to believe in the virgin birth to be a Christian. But if you are a Christian, then you are accustomed to God showing up in unbelievable ways. And so something like the virgin birth, with respect, is really not that big a deal. I mean, it's the kind of thing we expect to happen when the love of God gets loose in the universe. So my prayer for you, I'm praying it for myself too, baby. My prayer for you this week, I hope you expect Christ to be unbelievably born in the fertile ground of your own hearts anytime now. Expect it. Unbelievable, but true. Amen.